This video is made for adult collectors because of peer pressuring from two friends. I'm now on a big model kit craze. Hooray! What? What? I did not understand a word of that. Blokees has been doing a wide range of different kits, from tiny ones all the way up to full-size model kits. I've had one of the full-size Action Edition sets, Megatron, and I thought it was okay, a bit loose and floppy in a lot of areas. So when they showed off Soundwave, I was like, okay, hopefully he's able to stand better. And they knocked it out of the park with this. There are a couple of that's not how you say that word. There are a couple of weird oddities, there we go, to this toy still, but a lot of my Action Edition woes are completely gone. And this to me is probably the best Blokees figure that they've ever done. And they added sounds, scuffed sounds, but we'll get to that later. This is Action Edition Soundwave, and he comes with all of his friends. And this was sent over by Blokees. They've got a ton of different Transformers products online, so you can check them out, linked below if you want to. The build, because this is a model kit, was pretty good. I got back into building Gunpla because, again, two of my friends are bad influences on me, but the build of this was really comparable to those. No tools needed though, and everything just sort of snaps together. Well, I mean, it says no tools. However, there will be some times where you need a knife or nippers to get rid of some of the excess sprue on hard to reach areas, because it just comes off and you're like, oh, well, there's a little bit of a nub sticking out. I love the colors, the bright white mixed with the deep blues and the bits of red and yellow. It's all spread out so well, and all the separation is parts. There is absolutely no stickers on this kit at all. Everything that's color different is a component or has already been tampographed on. It is a bit stylized in its proportions. Big hands, head, and chunky lower legs, but I like it. Okay, well, I think the big hands are a bit but I like everything else. He feels nice once built. It's like making a big high grade, or comparable more to those 1/100th non-master grade kits that Gundam makes. He does have an inner frame though, so he's very solid feeling for a model kit. He just, you know, is not master grade heavy, but he's like 1/100th heavy. My biggest woe with Megatron was that the leg joints didn't feel solid enough. This one though comes with pre-assembled knees and hip joints that are a lot more difficult to put together. They were a bit of a pain because of how much stronger they are. So he can stand in almost any pose and is not going anywhere. He comes with a lot of stuff. You get Ravage, Laserbeak, Rumble Frenzy, the blue one, Rat Bat, extra forearm panels if you don't want the ports exposed, extra feet for Laserbeak, a stand, a couple guns, and this block. This block does something very special. It activates the lights, but unlike other Action Edition kits, it also activates sounds. All right, so let's listen to the sound. I'm gonna turn this light off because it's facing his face. And then let's see, the magnet's located in the back here. So you tap it onto his chest. It sometimes can miss. You have to tap it like right on the Decepticon symbol because like, let me open his chest. You can't really see in there, hang on. That little tape deck thing, it's behind that where the electronics are. Also, it's really cool that gravity just sort of opens and closes the door. There we go, that's kind of funny. And you can also activate it with this in here. So I will put this in here. And it can still go through all of that. So there's the lights on. Decepticon mustard? I don't know. It sounds like he says Ika Goga. I don't know what that is. I can understand most of the words, but there are some that are very muffled. That one's easy. And then the last one just turns it off. But if you want to change the batteries, you have to come back here. You have to take this off and then take this off, and then you have access to the inside of the thing. Now, the speaker is muffled, and it's not simply because there's bits on here covering the speaker, because there is no actual speaker holes on this toy. It was like that immediately out of the box. Like, it just is a bit muffled. So I wish the speaker was a little bit more higher quality so we could actually hear what he's saying, because like... I know he's actually saying Decepticon Master, but like it sounds like mustard. Like, I just wish you could hear it a bit more clearly. The speaker sound is... It's not great. Now, the articulation on Soundwave and the other little guys is actually pretty nice, with some of the things that Soundwave can do being quite nuts and feeling a little bit master grady / real grady. Still one of my favorite high grades. So Soundwave's articulation, actually before we get into him real quick, I'll just show you the cassette bots. So Rat Bat has flappy wings. These can move around and the head can move kind of. Laserbeak, you have wings that can flap. They can slide forward and back depending on what position you want them in. These legs can wiggle. You have a hinge and then a ball joint at the top. Ravage, you got a ball joint in the torso, a ball joint in the head, ball joint in each hip, and then a hinge in each hip, and then a hinge at the tail, and his mouth can open and close. And then Rumble Frenzy, the blue one, his head can rotate. It does sort of get limited by the stalks on either side. The shoulders are on ball joints, biceps are on ball joints, so you get that little swivel. The wrist and the drills can both wiggle like that. Once this is locked in place, you can kind of only just do this with it. There is a waist joint, hips can go forward, back, in and out. Ball jointed knees, so you have that thigh rotation as well, and then ball jointed ankles. He kind of works similar to these figures, is a little bit more simple. And then the stand has 3 axes. You got this, you've got this, you've got this, and then it rotates at the top and it rotates at the bottom. And it's a big peg, so you unfortunately can't peg it into any other spot on the stand except for here. I kind of wish you could, but I mean, this is fine. But Soundwave has some really cool engineering, and getting back into Gundam really recently and like building a real grade for the first time in a long time, that being the High Nu, this one. Working out how the legs work in this felt very similar to how they worked on the real grade High Nu with the thighs specifically, and how satisfying it was to put together. But another thing that this figure does is all of its bits, or almost all of its bits, just kind of get out of the way naturally to accommodate for the articulation, which is a lot nicer than like Megatron, who's on the floor here, because his arms, they go out, right? But then when you move them forward, they only go out that far. The shoulder pad doesn't go out of the way. This it does. So the head is my biggest problem with this figure in its articulation. You don't get that much in the way of tilt or up or down. I wish it could look up or down a bit more than that, but you do have your full rotation. Shoulders, they can do a full 360 degrees. You can pull them out to allow for a butterfly joint that far forward and back. The arms, they go out that far, but the shoulder pads pull and rotate up, so they can go out that far. I like that a lot. The elbows have like a double jointed bend, but it only bends about that far. You do have bicep rotation. These slide up and down for some reason. I don't actually know why. The wrists are on ball joints, and then each finger, which each finger comes pre-assembled, thank God. Building hands is like my least favorite part of a model kit, but they are ball jointed at the stock, and then they have a joint and a joint at each knuckle, and then the thumb has a ball joint and one joint in the middle. The torso, he does have a waist joint, and then if you pull it up, you can crunch that far forward, you can crunch that far back, and you get a little bit of side to side, not a lot. I wish there was a tiny bit more. The side to side isn't in the torso, it's actually in the hips themselves. Like it does, like this little plate right here is what's moving. Now the hip skirts can move out of the way. These ones do like to fall off a little bit too easily when you're like moving the leg forward, but the legs can go forward that far, they can go back that far, get the hand out of the way, they can go out that far, and look, it's not moving. If I bring Megatron in and I do this, the joint is not strong enough. I don't know what happened with this, but this is so much better. You do have drop down hips, so they do slide. They are connected, both hips, so if one hip's down, the other is down. I kind of wish they were independent, but I also don't know how you could have done that with that space. But the legs do kick a little bit more forward, but you heard that click, right? That was this disconnecting. You kick far forward, it still only goes 90 degrees with drop down hips because the hip skirts get in the way. You do have thigh rotation, but it is blocked by the sculpt. If you do drop the hip down a bit and move it out, you get full access to that range, but then these start to like pop out a little bit. So the thigh swivel is there if you need it, but it does get hindered a little bit. This is where the real grade stuff comes into play though. Watch this when I bend the knee. The armor shifts. That's very cool. I like that. I think that's really, really neat. It's super satisfying to watch. But yes, the knees do bend that far. Then the ankles, they can go down, they can go up. You have a toe bend. I wish it was a little bit more of a toe bend. And an ankle tilt, which also isn't as much as I would have liked it to be. Now there are still a couple of gimmicks on this guy I haven't shown off yet. So you have right here, this dial does rotate and this switch does go up and down. And then if you open this up, you have speakers in his legs, which is really cool. And you close them and just slide them back into place. So that's cool. But yeah, he does a lot. Oh, and this cannon can go up and down, rotate, and swing around at the back as well. It's just pegged in. it's just pegged in here. You can put it on either side, whichever one you want. And this does fold away. You just bring this down, fold that up, and you can like store it on his back like that. But I am going to leave it up, and then his actual gun, right, his handgun, that can compress, and this can sort of go into here, and it makes the battery, and then you fold this out, and then it stores on his back. So you can do that as well if you want to, and then you just fold this up, pull this out, and it will in turn shift everything forward. You pull that out all the way, pull this open, and then the back falls off because I've split it in half somehow. How did I do that? So I like this a lot. It's quickly becoming my favorite Soundwave, but that's not really saying much. I don't have that many Soundwaves. I do wish the neck articulation was better. I'm not a fan of the hand proportions and the hip skirts kind of popping off with the drop down hips and all that. But with all the stuff you get and what this thing can do, like in general, just all around, even with those couple of minor gripes I have, I think this is fair to say this is the best thing Blokees has put out so far. I highly recommend you grab one of these if you're huge into model kits, because it's really fun. You can, again, check them out, link below. But that's been my look at Blokees Action Edition Soundwave. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.